What's up, guys?
Brad,
What's up, brother?
a couple of days before the fight, how you feeling?
Feeling great?
Um, how good did it feel to get back in the win column?
Oh, the best. I hate losing, so to get a dub felt really good.
Now that you've had some time to or now that you've had time to really think about it and stuff, how did you feel about your performance?
I felt good. The plan is always to get him out of there, and I honestly thought I would. Like I seen him wince when I was kicking those legs, and man, to his credit, he freaking showed his champion spirit, and he bit down. I remember in the fight, he was like, yeah, like he said something to me like, come on, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna keep kicking. But yeah, it just goes to his toughness. But yeah, I'm happy with the performance. There's always things that we look at that we need to tweak and to grow on and get better on, which we did. But overall, happy.
It's kind of where we're like, how did it feel to kind of be the villain? Because everybody was kind of rooting for Chris to come back after his horrific leg break, and you were just
Yeah.
like, well, fuck that. I'm playing spoiler.
Yeah, I was asked once, and they're like, "Oh, something about the comeback story or the Cinderella story," and I was like, "Hey, sorry, I'm here to shit on that story." Um, it just sucks that it's against a guy like Chris, such a great guy. Because hey, I was rooting for him too when he broke his leg. Man, I had to turn away. That was horrific. So he's one of those guys that he's a very likable guy, and you want to see him do well, and it wasn't gonna be against me.
Fighting RoboCop, obviously you've been matched up a couple times. I guess just what was it important to get this fight rebooked, or did you not care?
I didn't care honestly. It was great to fight somebody like Chris Weidman, and honestly, if there had been another Chris Weidman-esque type fight out there, I would have loved that opportunity. But this is the fight that was presented, and yeah, it's good to get it back and I guess settle the score. We were supposed to fight a year ago, it didn't happen, so here we are a year later.
And he's someone that's going to come forward for you. You like to bang, he like to bang. What do you think of the matchup?
I like the matchup. I think it's a good matchup for me. So I'm excited.
Yeah, on paper, it's a very, very fun fight. Personally, what does the win over Gregory Rodriguez do for you?
I think like looking at rankings, this, that, yada yada, but he's definitely one of those guys that's been on the come up. And I remember a few years back, I don't know when this was, but I remember Israel when he was a champion had like kind of like addressed him like, oh yeah, this is one of the guys I see. So for not only the fans from the outside looking in and the media but for the fellow fighters to look at this guy and be like, okay, that's somebody that could be up there. Me, putting a stop to stopping him in his tracks is great for me.
Basically, kind of like a fight where it's like you beat him, and it's like I'm still that guy, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, I don't know if you hear, but a gatekeeper gets thrown out on your name a whole lot. Like, do you take offense to that?
I do not. I do not. And I look at it is what it is. Yes. I look at the guys that I've fought, and if they've gotten past me, boom, go on to be the champion. You know what I mean? So it's nothing that like if somebody wants to say it in a negative way, then that's on them. I don't take it negatively. Um, I, I am here fighting the best guys, and hey, if they do make it past me, they've shown that they've gone on to become champions. Israel and Rob, Dreykus, but all guys that I know on any given day, I could still beat these guys. So that makes me excited actually.
At the end of the day, this Saturday, how do you get your hand raised?
I'm never one for predictions, except the fact that I know it will be my hand raised. And yeah, I just believe that I'm the better fighter here, and that I will be victorious.
I wanted your thoughts on Dreykus and your teammate Strickland. What do you think of that fight?
I thought Sean won that fight. I was watching it, and I was like, you know what? I might be biased. That's my boy. That's my training partner. But I thought he definitely won the fight. And I know thousands of other people also believe that. And I remember, I think I seen Dana even said that he thought Sean won that fight. So Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, though. And it's the fight game. That kind of stuff happens. On to the next.
You know, being in the gym, like, what's that do to the gym? Like, obviously, Extreme Couture have many champions, but you had a middleweight champion. Now there's not one. Like, what's the energy in the gym?
Yeah, and it doesn't change. Sean is one of those guys. Like, I think he's pretty open with like how he felt about being the champion and how he treated the belt, etc. And I'll be honest with you, that guy, nothing changed. Literally nothing changed. He's still his same self, and nothing changed. And now he's back. In fact, he just texted me yesterday when I was coming from the check-in, and still his same self. So he ended up calling me, and yeah, nothing changed. Before the belt, during the time he had the belt, and after the belt, same dude.
And I wanted to ask you about Dricus. Obviously, you fought him. It was a close fight. That first round, like you had him, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you think of him as a fighter and a champion?
Oh, I think he's shown and proven that he's a great fighter, and props to him to go, the 5 rounds. Like, I think a lot of people, that was their kind of their downside to him. Like, oh yeah, Dricus gets tired, this, that, whatever. My man just showed that he can go 5 rounds with one of the probably the guy with the best gas tank in the whole division. So that says a lot right there. So respect to him.
And finally, who's winning the Super Bowl on Sunday?
I hope they both lose.
Thanks for taking the time, Brad. You don't need motivation. You always bring it. But does it give you a little bit more energy, bigger smile that you got? You're on the 9th island. You got Dan on here, Philly, like Polynesian Islander people being represented. And you, of course, leading that pack. How cool is that?
No, it is great. As far as like motivation to the fight, I hadn't even really thought about it that way, but it definitely is exciting. Obviously, like I love fighting here in Vegas. This is what I call home now. This is the closest that I'll ever get to UFC Hawaii. So I love it. And then to finally be able to share a card with my brother Dan, like that's awesome. Like I told him we were signing posters yesterday, and I was like, bro, it's crazy, like just remembering his come up to my own, and just remembering when he first moved here, he was sleeping on my couch for a little bit, and shortly after, boom, he was in the UFC, and now he's a top ranked featherweight fighter in the UFC. But I was like, wow, it's kind of crazy. Like, I've cornered you, you've cornered me, but we've never been on a card together. So I mean, here we are, 2024. We get the opportunity.
That's so awesome, man. And he gave us a fun story about chia seeds all over the place. Give me a Dan Ige story.
Bro, this guy moved here and had like some chia seeds in his bag, and I don't know what happened. The thing broke. Anyway, I come home, and bro, there's just chia seeds everywhere. And if you guys know about chia seeds, the shit gets everywhere. And you kind of get it wet, because when it gets wet, it gets worse. It fucking, like, I don't know what happens. It gets bigger and it gets sticky. And I'm like, bro, what? Like, why? Like, just fucking buy. I would have bought you chia seeds here. Like, you didn't need to bring your stash of chia seeds. Shit got everywhere, whatever. We fucking cleaned it up. I told him, I was like, years had passed, and I'm not even joking. I was like fucking cleaning, and I found some chia seeds, and I was like, bro, I texted him. I was like, I kid you not, I'm still finding chia seeds to this day. But yeah, it's just a funny story, something for us to laugh about now.
That's awesome, man. And I appreciate how you embrace that when you're talking about with Alex, the gatekeeper, which is, that you're welcoming it. And, in the main, you have Jack being the gatekeeper with Joe, and you got the young guns coming up against the old lions and all that. But do you see that as an advantage that you have been around, that you got the experience? You might have the nerves, but not that type of energy to where like you're like, oh no, this is a big stage.
It is what it is in anything, right? Like that's life. Like one day, like years ago when I first started, I was that young and up and coming guy that was fighting at the time like an Aaron Simpson, right? Who was at the top of the division and considered like the gatekeeper or whatever. That's just the cycle of life. Like you're not gonna stay young forever. Like eventually you're gonna age out. It happened to everybody, to all the greats. So it's not something that like I'm like tripping about. Like, oh, he called me a gatekeeper, this, that, whatever. Like I don't care. Like it like I'm not. I don't take it as in a negative way. It's not negative to me.
Perfect, man. That's what's up. And last for me, you're always in the game. I see you at the arenas, for the shows, LFA, just always soaking it up. Is there anything new that you're bringing to the fight on Saturday? Something that you're like, man, I just learned something the other day in the gym. This is awesome.
No, I just was talking about this as well with the broadcast team. They had asked me about like like kind of if I feel like like I've been doing this so long, if there's anything that I can learn, and I'm like, dude, the second that you stop and you say it to yourself like there's nothing I can learn, you're done. Like you're done. This sport, you guys have seen it. You guys have been covering this sport for years. You guys have seen the evolution of this sport, the way it changed, the way the fighters change and evolve, and where the game has gotten. And maybe that's part of my success and being here so long is because I've always known that you adapt or you die. Like the second that you think that you cannot learn anything, you won't learn anything, and you get left behind. You get left in the dust. So if you want to keep it going, you got to keep evolving, with the game. And you see things out there, people try new things. You got to try it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, scratch. On to the next.
I appreciate it, man. That's what's up. We got to put that on the shirt. Adapt or die.
Adapt or die. I've been saying that for years. My old coach told me that. Adapt or die. And you can put that to anything in life, and not just fighting, in anything. You adapt or you die.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Adapt or die on Saturday.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.